recordings. And I believe I saw a number of you are getting more than a license. So I think this is something very important to be discussed in one-on-one gathering. So what we will do, we'll take it, we'll go in quickly and brief and sometime in details about the application and how to apply and when to apply, what do you need when you're applying and all of this. And after that, I will keep question, so you can ask question, and then we also can prepare for the next sessions as well. Hope everything's clear for you guys. Good, okay. So sometime also during the sessions, I will be missing the presentation. So, I mean, I'm not gonna go through slide by slide because I believe I'll have to give you more detail about the products because it has a lot of requirement and a lot of detail in the application that need to be applied. So I'll share screen now. So screen is clear now. Everyone can see the screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Before we go into the screen, and just to make sure, is everyone applying for lending crowdfunding or lending in general? You may take a minute to explain what exactly you are doing.
Sorry, hi, Badr. I think for us at Irad, it's still unclear. It's still unclear whether it's crowdfunding or lending. Obviously, we understand that it depends on who's lending and if it's balance sheet play or a platform play where you connect to investors. But because we're still basically working on the business model, given the different reg routes out there, like we were still exploring both. So in Irad, we're still flexible on that, and that's why this session will be very important for us.
Okay, good. Okay, the rest.
For Effendi, it's also very similar to Irad's situation. We are looking into, because our model is also similar to the buy now, pay later, but for SMEs or for businesses.
Okay.
So we are more towards the lending scenario, I believe, more than the crowdfunding, again, depending on where the money is coming from. But yeah, on the buy now, pay later, it's more classified under alternative financing, which is still probably not regulated under SAMA. It might be within the sandbox.
Okay.
And then it's Peter here from Beehive. So Beehive is purely aiming for the debt crowdfunding license, basically.
Is there anyone else, or khalas, should I start? The rest are me. Okay. So Sabbagh, صحيح? Yes, a fund.
Yes, Muhammad Sabbagh.
Okay, so I'm just going to give you a brief, very quickly, about the different in regulation in Saudi Arabia. Okay, buy now, pay later has already been regulated a couple of months ago. They are already under the regulations. So basically, the buy now, pay laters, you do not finance from your own balance sheet. You finance from different investors. Okay. We have also license in Saudi Arabia called microfinancing. So the microfinancing where you finance the product or the merchant from your own balance sheet. And we have the lending crowdfunding. So basically you have these three type of license that usually they are under the lending. So now we will focus more into the crowdfunding and buy now, pay later as well if you need more explanation about this one. So the buy now, pay later, usually it's an applications where you gather number of investors to invest into a company. It should be a company, not any It should be a company license. It should be a company that been registered in Saudi Arabia. Okay, and also the lending crowd fund should be licensed from the Saudi Arabia SAMA regulations. The company itself should be a joint stock company that we are talking about. So, for example, Behave should be a joint stock company under MISA license. Okay, this is a very important topic. Regarding who is the investor. When we talk about the investor here, I mean the gonna finance the money for the crowdfunding to finance it to the beneficiary is usually either an entity or a person. If it's a person, there's two types of persons. Either someone who has the knowledge and already has a CMA, not CMA approval, CMA requirements, so to finance more than a certain amount. Or any regular person who can finance a maximum of 50,000 Saudi Riyal per year for different investments. But if it's a person that called, let me tell you exactly what's called according to CMAs. If it's a person that's being certified by CMA called eligible participant, then this guy can invest up to 200,000 and more, but has different requirements. For example, he has a value of investment of 3 million Riyal, he has an experience 3 years, and total income of 600,000 Saudi Riyal per year. So this is something very important for you when you structure your policy and procedure or your legal term, because if someone done any investment above this amount and he's not eligible, then you're going to have a lot of question mark and you'll be under the regulator fining or might stop your license. So regarding the equity lending crowdfunding, it cannot be operated either or buy now pay later in Saudi Arabia. Buy now pay later, they give them I think a period of some time to operate now until they get the license, especially if they are under the sandbox. But for buy now for the lending, no one can operate without getting the approval from SAMA. So approval is a must at this time of being. The license usually is a 5 years license. And then you can renew it within 3-month period before the expiration period. This is a very important when you apply. So this I'll explain more. And also I'll share different type of screens so you understand what the difference here. When you apply to the regulation, you have to have certain type of document. Business plan, very important to have a detailed business plan. So the business plan should include numbers of fact in it. So financial model, the 5 years financial model, risk management. It's a very important risk management. Compliance, the exiting strategy. They are very, very, very. They look at the exiting strategy as a very important part. When I say exit strategy, I mean the bankruptcy or you have a problem with your system, you cannot operate your systems and all of these. This is very important. So in case the regulators tell you tomorrow you're not going to operate, you're going to stop your license or suspend your license, what you're going to do with the money you have in your bank account? How is going to happen this issue? Another issue regarding the bank account is good. They amended the regulation for the crowdfunding. Now each investment has to have its own bank account as an escrow account. So it cannot be collected all the investment in one bank account. So it has to have different. So let's assume that let's call it you are raising investment for 3 or 4 companies. So each one of these companies has to have its own account, separate account or escrow account, where you collect the money and then you put it into the company itself. You have to put the money in the company within a 15 days period. The sooner you collect the full amount, you can put it with a 15-day period there.
Sorry, to jump in, how does that work in practice? So most debt crowdfunding platforms. For example, let's say I'm an investor going onto a platform. I put on, let's say, 20,000 SAR, and I then go, I'm going to put 10,000 into one company. I'm then going to wait a week, put another 5,000 to another company, and another week, up another 5,000 to another company. Where's my money? Where's that 20,000 sit before being allocated to each of the separate opportunities?
Can we keep the question, Peter, for later on? I think it's better.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, certainly. Sorry.
Yeah, I believe that's give us a chance so that I can explain as much as I can, and then I keep the question. I'll give you a good time for. I'll give you around an hour. Maybe you can ask questions, guys.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. So in your business plan, again, you have to have the credit risk, marketing risk, legal risk, technology risk, fraud risk. All of these should be into the business plan. They look at something called fit and proper. This can be downloaded from the SAMA website. What I mean by fit and proper, it has to have two types of fit and proper. One for the board members and one for the shareholders. So this is also a document requested by SAMA. Also, this is a very tricky part. If you're gonna ask a legal advisor to do for you the article of association, there is a template article of association from SAMA. There is not a standard one from the Minister of Commerce. Okay, you want me to share with you the screen so you look at the difference? Does that make sense for you?
We know what it looks like, so we're okay, thank you.
So you know how to look, okay. So this is very important. The article of association should use the SAMA article of association, not the regular one. Also, they will ask you for bank guarantee. As I said, the minimum capital is a 5 million riyal. However, it's come with a cost. The 5 million riyal, you only can invest into 40 times double. So let's assume your capital is 10 million riyal. So 10 million times 40. So you're talking about 400 million riyal. So per year, you only can invest in 4 million riyal, or you can raise funds for 400 million riyal. Not more than that. This is the new regulation came a couple of months ago. So the license fees, as you can see, there is a 5,000 for insurers and 2,000 for the renewal every now and then. SAMA has at any time can stop or revoke your application, but obviously they should come with the reasons. The sooner you know the reason, you have to apply back to come back to SAMA within 30 days. If you delay this 30 days, then it means you have no answer, then they can stop you. Even if they ask you a question regarding anything or they come with an inquiry, you have to reply back direct to them. And also, every transaction or every if you have an investment more than 7.5 million riyal, also SAMA should notice about this one. According to the regulation, the only maximum you can raise is 7.5 million riyal, not more than that. All of these are very important to put it in your IT system so that you don't have a problem later on. I mentioned regarding the renewing. So the renewing can be 3 months before the expiry. Regarding going back, it's a very important part regarding who's going to be in the board of directors, who's going to manage the companies. There are certain requirements. For example, it has to have a good history, has to have residence in Saudi Arabia. Non-residents, according to Minister of Commerce or MISA, a non-resident can manage the company, but SAMA required to have a residence in Saudi Arabia. So even if he's a foreign, but he has to have a residence. He has to has no have any criminal record as well. This is a very important issue that you have to consider when you apply. Regarding the capital, as I mentioned to you, the 5 million riyal minimum, can be changed from time to time. 2 months ago, they amended the regulation system for them. So the policies, it's very important because can be checked from SAMA from time to time. Also regarding the internal auditor, SAMA can appoint external auditor at any time at the company cost to ask for different documents. So all policies should be written, known to the public if it's needed to be known public, and you have to have policy for PC, the IT system, money laundries, risk management, compliance. All of this has to have their own policies. Marketing policy. This yesterday we explained all of these in the yesterday meetings. Also, this one we explained it yesterday, but if I'm happy to answer any question if you have for yesterday. But let me give you something also important regarding applying to the license. Regarding the employee should be a 50% Saudis. Okay, the rest is not an issue, but some employee has to have different license. For example, if you're gonna have a compliance officer, has to have the right compliance officer license. Part-time, full-time is not an issue. Lots and regarding the lending crowdfunding, usually some company requires something called promissory notes. This can be either you do it manually or you can integrate with MOG, which is the Minister of Justice. A lot of KYC in Saudi Arabia can be done, integrate with different government body or semi-government body. For example, sometimes you must have, according to the lending crowdfunding, you must have what we call it history check or credit check onto the beneficiary. So this credit check can be either from SEMA, we have, or Bayan, sometimes, or I don't know if there is another company that providing the same categories. This is very important to know about. So regarding the KYC, try to do it as much as you can through integration with third party. Better has the right curriculum, has the right requirement, and also SAMA sometimes asks you for this type of check. So again, regarding the amount, as I mentioned to you, the amount can be different from the company to the individual, and the individual, if it's CMA experience, CMA approval, can has a different amount in investment into the beneficiary. Conflict of interest yesterday we spoke about. So I'll give you now a question as much as you can. You can ask me a question, because the difference here is causing me as Badr as a little bit problem. So please feel free to ask as much as you want questions. Peter?
Yeah, many thanks, Badr. That's much appreciated. So yes, to go back to the question I was asking around the escrow account, which makes a lot of sense. So if I understand correctly, you have a separate escrow account for each basic opportunity, or each company basically that's borrowing. So if I'm an investor, can I, for example, put, let's say, 20,000 SAR on without knowing which opportunities I'm going to go into yet? And then as those opportunities arise, I place 5,000 on the 1st of March, 5,000 on the 15th of March, etc. Can I do that? And if so, where's that money sit in the escrow functionality?
Well, I think in Saudi Arabia, none of the lending crowdfunding doing this automated investment yet. Okay, so I think you should do it manually. So as an investor, you should choose the opportunity you want to invest into it and put the amount. They haven't get this yet, robo-advisory. I know one of the UAE company already done this one a couple of weeks or a couple of months ago. So until now, maybe you can do it if you get the approval from SAMA. If I answer you right. So for example, let's assuming that I want to invest in a number of companies. So I'll put in your company 100,000 Saudi riyal. And then you automated invest in this different company. That's right.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I think you should get the SAMA approval.
Okay, because that's how we do it in the UAE. That's how we're going to do it. We're about to get licensed in Oman. That's how we do it in Oman as well, sort of thing. So yeah, that's interesting. And then just secondly, second question, just on the residency side. So I'm a Saudi resident, but I have an Iqama, but I live in the UAE. How does Saudi look at that when it comes to saying whether or not I can be a individual on a board or management, etc.?
In the board is not an issue, okay?
Yeah.
But to be the managing of the company, you have to have the residence of Saudi Arabia. So if you're going to establish your company through MISA, then you can get the license, the residence called investment residence.
Yeah.
You can use it.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Badr. This is Nizar again from Beehive. So if I understand correctly, are you saying that all the opportunities, all businesses will be funded, will have a separate account created by the company that, or the fintech that will be lending them? So for example, if multiple investors are lending for business A, so the fintech will create a business account called business A account, and all monies comes to that account?
Yes, yes. Obviously,
okay.
Obviously, me as an investor, I don't know this. This is something in your platform.
Yep.
This is through the bank.
The investor wouldn't be involved. The company usually will manage and monitor the creation of the new account and will manage the cash through that account.
I think it's
assuming the repayments also they come to the same account.
Yeah, I think in Saudi Arabia you can do it with different banks because they have something called virtual IBAN. So you can number of IBAN for separate opportunities, and then you can link this IBAN to this opportunity where the money comes to it, and then from there you can invest it into the opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. So, and another point, you mentioned something about 7.5 million raise limit. I did not understand what did you mean?
So this opportunity, whatever the opportunity, the maximum amount they can raise is 7.5 million.
Okay, so that's the cap for the amount of loans, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, the ticket size. Okay. And then what are the requirements for the renewal of the license?
I think there is no requirement yet, but it is just a letter. You send it to SAMA, and then if they approve it, that's it.
Okay.
Because
and also
you know they do credit check SAMA every now and then from at the company, so they will keep so they know that this company should be eligible for getting renewal or no.
Yep. And for the policies that needs to be in place for a regulated entity, I know you shared a list, but I'm not sure if that list is comprehensive. Operational risks, or this is only about the risks that needs to be identified by the. I mean, so the question is, let me paraphrase it. Do we have a defined list of what policies needs to be in place to be regulated?
Yes, there is. If you want, I can take you through it one by one now, so maybe the rest can understand. Just give me 1 second, please.
Perfect.
So the risk that you have to mention it's credit risk, marketing risk, operation risk, legal risk, technical risk, fraud risk, cybersecurity risk, money laundering risk, and workflow risk.
Okay. And you mentioned also marketing policy.
Yes, marketing risk.
Okay.
So just to be clear here, are those the risks that have to be within an operational risk template? Because on top of that, I think the question is what policies are required. So, for example, we have a marketing policy, we have an HR policy, we have a credit policy, an investor onboarding policy, an SME policy, etc. Separate to that, we also have an operational risk manual, which has an operational risk matrix, which looks at those risks you've identified. So I think Nizar's question was, is there a list of actual manuals that there needs to be as well?
So, what do you say? What do you mean by manual? So you mean it should be written?
No. So I know it should be written, but is there a predefined list of what manuals and processes, as in documents, SAMA needs? So, for example, we have an AML manual. We have a compliance manual. We have a SME onboarding manual. We have a marketing manual. All basically defining what an individual or individuals within our team can and can't do and how they should do things and so forth. So we have about 15 different manuals basically for different sections. Does SAMA dictate, or does it give some sort of clues as to what manuals it expects?
No, the one I mentioned, it should be into your manual. So for example, let's say you have an operation manual. In the operation manual itself, the end of it should mention the risk out of it. What you'll do in case of problem, headache happening, whatever is happening in the company itself. So it should be in the manual.
Okay, fine.
It's a part of the manual usually, because the manual is the bigger picture. The rest is a part of the policy and procedure that happen in the manual.
Thanks.
And one last question about so the key roles that SAMA requires. What are so you mentioned 50% Saudization is required, but the key roles all needs to be Saudi roles, and if no, what are the positions or roles that could be non-Saudis, and what are the qualifications for the key roles?
Okay, well, SAMA is a part of a bigger governmental body, so you have to look at the human resource minister, because some of the key role, for example, is only being by Saudis. For example, HR is only Saudi. Okay. Yep. Accountant, the number of accountants you have, let's assume you have 3 accountants, non-Saudi, then you have to have in front of them are 3 Saudis. These are followed by the human resource, but SAMA, they made it regular that they need a 50%.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, could the head of IT be a non-Saudi?
No problem, as long as the human resource has no new amended out of. But I think they have an amended. I think they have to have. Okay. I believe so.
And in terms of qualifications or certificates for the key roles like compliance or credits, is there specific requirements or minimum requirements SAMA require?
Compliant, I believe, yes, there is a requirement. So I think they should get the different license from CMA. But the rest, no.
Perfect.
I have a question with regard of the investors on the crowdfunding. Is the crowdfunding company is allowed to invest along with the crowdfund? For example, if they don't meet the target amount, are they allowed to invest it from the company's balance sheet, or what are the rules around this?
I believe no, but I'll need to double check this one, because I know for a fact one of the equity crowdfund that we advise in their business model that they ask to have share in the company. But this is CMA, it's share in the company, and CMA refused. They said they only take your percentage, whatever the percentage you want, you take it. But you cannot be a shareholder in the company instead of taking percentage. So I believe vice versa, I think it's the same. You cannot invest because you don't have a license for microfinancing or financing. You're not a finance company or crowdfunding, a fintech company, crowdfunding. So I believe no.
But if it's an individual in the company, or an individual related to the company as a related party, is he, and meeting the criteria of the crowdfund, is he allowed to invest?
I believe so, yes. Yes.
But it cannot be the company itself.
No.
Okay. And with regards of microfinance license, does it allow investing from your own balance sheet as opposed to crowdfunding?
Microfinance, you only invest from your own balance sheet. There is a difference between microfinance and buy now pay laters. Buy now pay later, you don't invest from your balance sheet. You invest different type.
And are you allowed to mix the two licenses together? For example, crowdfunding with microfinance?
Well, at this time of being, I think no, because I advised before also a company that want to issue a license and they ask him to do it in a separate entity held by the main company. You understand, Sabah?
Yeah, yep. So it has to be a separate entity that does the other activity. It cannot be the same entity.
Yeah, but I believe if you really want to do this, I think you ask SAMA and get approval before. So you ask them because it's not there is no written law in this matter or no written regulation. So I believe if you send them an email, tell them I have this company and I want to establish another company with a different license, either they'll approve it or they say no, please establish a new entity.
Okay, with regards of the buy now, pay later, now the regulation, the framework is only on consumers as a B2C. Is there any regulations on buy now, pay later for SMEs or for businesses?
No, only for consumers.
Any idea if there's any plans to create such like similar license, like to the buy now, pay later on the SMEs?
No, not really. And the maximum amount is 5,000 riyal to be paid with a 12-month period. And also regarding the lending crowd fund, the length period is only 12-month period to be repaid.
Sorry, could you, sorry, I just missed that part. So you're saying that a loan can't be more than 12 months on the debt crowdfunding?
The maximum is 12 months.
Wow. That's not in the license, is it? It's not in the rules.
Let me get it back to you exactly. Where is it?
I don't remember having read that before.
And it is 12 months. But if someone has another question, I'll get back to you with this one.
Thanks.
I have a question, and thank you very much, Badr, for your help here. When it comes to the participant on the crowdfunding platform, by participants I mean investors, can we onboard institutional investors or like corporates, not just people?
As long as they have a CR, yes.
So a CR, but not a license to lend. So a supermarket, I can board a supermarket and the supermarket can invest in an opportunity?
Yes, because he has a CR numbers. He has a commercial company.
Okay, and there's no criteria for, there's a criteria for retail. There's no criteria for companies when it comes to who can you onboard?
As long as they are Saudis and they have a CR number. Not Saudi entity. Saudi means a license, whatever license.
Okay, and so thank you. That answers the question. My second question is, can the platform, the crowdfunding platform, be selective on who to onboard? Like since we can onboard, as you say, corporates or sorry, companies with CR or retail, can I get the license and be like, I want to close on retail and just do companies? Or do I have to like just be open and accept anyone that meets the criteria?
I can ask this with Sam if you want to. Yeah, if I have the right answer, I don't mind to ask Sam for this one. But with equity crowdfund, I think yes, sometimes you can do this, like a private placement.
Understood. Understood. Another question. If I'm asking too many questions, just stop me. If you want to give room for others.
I have this one open so everyone can ask questions as much.
When it comes to applying for the license, this is a bit maybe generic when it comes to this session. When it comes to applying for a license, is it recommended from your experience that we outsource the whole application process to a legal counsel / compliance agency, or as being to be the front, or we go to SAMA and have some support in the background, or there's no preference?
Most of the companies that I know, they do everything internally and then they give it to a third party to review it. And then after that, they apply to SAMA direct.
Okay, understood. Understood. That's it on my side. Thank you very much.
Because Because no one knows the policy and procedure of your company, the workflow and everything except you.
Makes sense.
So I'm trying to get you the answer because I know it for sure.
Thanks, Badr. Just coming back to actually one of the previous questions. So as a lender, if you're an institutional lender, you have to have a CR, as I hear, but that means you couldn't, for example, use a Dubai-based entity as a lender to a Saudi-based, across a Saudi platform?
No, it has to be Saudi.
Interesting. Okay, thanks.
On that same subject, if a bank was the lender, for example, or if you have a credit line from a bank, can you take him into the crowd fund to lend your customers?
Is the bank gonna be? Is the bank gonna come by himself, or he's gonna facilitate a credit line? If he facilitate a credit line, it means gonna go to you, to the company itself.
Yes, but to serve the company's customers, basically.
For lending for crowdfunding?
I mean, that's my question. Yes, if you have a credit line or facility from a bank, will crowdfunding license allow for that?
I don't think. No, I don't believe it's gonna happen. But if the bank come as a bank with his license, with his
Yeah.
he can be as same as any investment or investor. Sorry.
To be as an investor in the crowdfund, is that possible? Or I mean,
then they have a CR.
okay, but the platform doesn't necessarily need to be regulated if a bank is given that credit facility, correct?
The bank is going to be an investment. He's not going to give a credit facility because this is something different with the bank himself. With buy now, pay later, this is what's happening. The bank give their credit facility, but here the bank is going to be an investor, as normal as any investor.
Right, but I mean, I'm saying the bank is already regulated to give lending to SMEs. That's my question. So if you come as a fintech platform to provide the bank with these SMEs or customers, do you need to be regulated in that aspect as a fintech platform, or it's not necessarily being regulated if you're operating for a bank?
As a lending crowd fund or as a buy now, pay later?
I mean, like as just like I'm a middleman between the bank and between the customer.
Yeah, what license you want to get?
I mean, I'm asking, do you really need a license for this? If a bank is already regulated, he's the one lending, and you're only acting as the middle person in the middle.
Yeah, Sabah, the question is too broad. You have to, what license? What is the business model behind your lending? How are you going to lend? Are you going to be a part of the lending? Are you only going to be facilitating the lending? Or
Facilitating the lending.
If facilitating the lending, it's been buy now, pay later.
Yes, but you mentioned that buy now, pay later is only for consumers. It's not for businesses, correct?
Only for consumer.
Yeah, and it's not there for businesses at the moment.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Maybe you can apply.
Actually,
you can apply for the sandbox.
Yes, that's my question here.
Maybe you can apply for the sandbox and come back with their feedback.
Yep.
One more question about the investors. So can foreign investors who are not resident in Saudi invest in crowdfunding platforms in Saudi?
No, I don't think so, no. But there is certain requirement they require to have it.
Like, so you can't onboard them based on their passports and
No.
Okay.
No. Anyone has any other questions?
roughly how long does it take once you give Sama all the documents?
Sorry?
How long does it take the application if you give Sama all the documents that they need?
Between a month to 2 months. They get back to you very quickly.
And are all the rules written down, or are there rules which they're applying but aren't actually documented at the moment?
Sorry?
Are all the rules fully written down, or are there, for example, some rules which are and requirements which aren't actually documented anywhere, but ultimately Sama is enforcing?
No, 95% are already in the document that in the regulation rules.
Yeah.
For example, the tricks sometimes you need to adjust it. For example, as I mentioned to you regarding the article of association, should be the SAMA one, not the other one. This is the tricky part here.
Got you. Thank you.
Peter, I'll get back to you if I can have your email, or during the session, I'll get back to you with this one.
I think the answer is 60 months. I'm just looking through the rules myself. I think it's Article 28.6. Repayment period shall not exceed 60 months.
Let me get back to you when we get the session one-on-one, and I'll do this one. For sure.
Have you got my email address, Badr?
Sorry?
You got my email address?
Where is it? Can you put it on the chat, please?
Yeah.
Whether anyone has another questions here?
Are you aware when is the sandbox going to open, or whether they're opening sandbox by summer this year?
With the CMA, there is no sandbox anymore. You can apply anytime you want.
Yeah.
With SAMA, until now, they haven't yet announced when it's going to happen, but last year was in I think in January, February, and October.
Okay.
But until now, they haven't mentioned when it's going to happen. Yeah, and if you send an email to them, they get back to you very quickly.
Okay. I mean, with regards of our model is mainly focused on inventory for online sellers for e-commerce businesses. So it's structured in a manner that we purchase the inventory for them, and then they sell it on our behalf with a profit share. So for that, I mean, is this classified as really as lending and needs to be regulated under SAMA, or could be as part of like social trading that is under CMA, or might only not require such regulated activity if we are mainly focusing on trading inventories and selling and buying?
I believe, Sabal, if I look at your business model in more detail later on the one-on-one, we can get you the advisor where you go. Because we need, again, for everyone, when you apply to license, be focusing to get one first license, and then you apply to enroll the different license. The more complicated, the more you're going to have problem with approving.
Yeah.
So this is very important. Even inshallah, when we have the session one-on-one, I believe, to define which one you want to start with first of all.
Okay. And when can we do the one-to-one session?
I think we are discussing with Plastics Lab. It's going to be next week, inshallah.
Okay, great.
So any other questions?
Not from me, thank you.
And just one last question from my side. In terms of the capital requirements, it's just unclear for me. For example, if it's that crowdfunding, where would this capital sit? Is it like just paid-in capital when we start the company that's being licensed, or is it and this capital be used for the business, or is it sort of a bank guarantee, or does it have to be like frozen somewhere?
Well, with your application applying, when you apply your application, you have to show the bank guarantee of 5 million riyal.
Okay.
Not only because, again, here, according to, this is, Peter, this is one of the tricky that sometimes you have it, because according to the Minister of Commerce, you can put any capital you want, and then you can finance this capital within a 60 days period. So, for example, let's assume I want to put 100 million riyal, and then this 100 million riyal I can pay it from today until 60 days. SAMA required to see a bank guarantee letter from the bank. This capital are held until they get you the license, and should be irrevocable renewal.
And to go back to the question, you can't touch that 5 million, can you? It's basically like ring fence capital.
You can touch it after you get the license approval.
So you can use it. You can use it for working capital.
Yes, you can use it as an operation cost.
Fully.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
And can this capital be like, just in terms of the process of like setting up the company in parallel and working on getting a license, so that money can be can sit with a holdco bank account, right? Like outside Saudi as a bank, and get the bank guarantee from there, right?
Yes, they can give, yes, you can approve, send it to them, but they're not going to give you the final license until they see the money here in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
And actually, sorry, so continuing from that, so one of our shareholders, who is a CMA regulated entity and has a bank as its main shareholder, only shareholder, if they were to give an irrevocable letter, would that be sufficient on our purpose, or does it have to come from us?
They didn't mention the regulations, but it has to have a bank guarantee. This is what they mentioned. Because, because again, when you apply, sometime you don't need to apply with an entity itself. You can apply with an individual, and then they give you the license based on this entity.
Yes.
So this is here the gray area.
Fine. So maybe again, like you said, discuss further in one-to-one.
Yeah, but again, this gray area, my advice to you, this gray area, you should collaborate with your lawyer to send an email to them and make sure that this is approved before you start everything.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering whether it was an option that's open to us, because our shareholders say is happy to give whatever form that's required, so that they give the irrevocable rather than us giving it on getting the license. And then obviously at that point in time, then we fund it when we actually are ready to go live, basically. That's the kind of the process I'm trying to follow.
This is fine. I think this is fine.
Okay.
But a small email to them to make sure this will be 100% right.
Thank you.
So are there any other questions?
I think I'm done. Thank you.
Nothing from my side as well.
Yep. Thank you very much.
So I'll see you guys next week, inshallah, and we hope to cover all your questions.
Thank you very much, Badr.
Bye.
Much appreciated. Really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.